Shalom family, welcome. Welcome to today. It is Shabbat Emor. Emor means say, and we are in Leviticus 21:1 through 24:23. The main events include the Lord giving Moses rules for priests to stay holy, with special rules for the high priests, guidelines for treating the sacred offerings with respect, including what may be eaten by whom and which animals are acceptable as sacrifices. There are descriptions of the appointed feasts to proclaim as sacred assemblies, instructions for the priests to tend the lamps and bake bread to set before the Lord. And there's a bit of a troubling story of a blasphemer, stoned as the Lord commanded. There's also guidelines for restitution, life for life. In this week's Parsha, priests are subject to higher standards than the Jews, and high priests even higher standards than the priests. And this is because the closer you lived in proximity to the manifest presence of the living God, the higher standard of holiness was required. This is so important for us to remember today as believers in Yeshua, because the world is not held to the same standards as us. Gentiles aren't even held to the same standards as Jews. So to impose our Christian beliefs on a world that does not know God and that is living in darkness not only pushes people away from finding God, but it's also unbiblical. Even amongst fellow believers, we need to be careful to hold our brothers and sisters accountable without comparison or judgment about their walk. As believers, we have the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. Even the high priests didn't have that. The Holy Spirit leads us and convicts us of the personal standard He holds us to. Someone who went from atheist to baptized yesterday is likely to be held at a different standard than someone who has been pastoring a church for 25 years. That's because our walk is about growth. He's transforming us in different ways at different times according to His will and His purpose for our life. Stepping outside the pace that the Lord has put into place for us will lead to legalistic faith or insincere faith. My prayer today is we are so focused on the holiness standard that the Lord is calling us to that we don't have any extra attention to give to comparison and judgments about other believers' walks. I love you all. Have a blessed day. Have a restful, peaceful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. See you next week.